I think, it depends. I mean, at the end of the day, it should be the will of the people, and depending on whether we agree with it or not, depends on how much we change it. But
Well, I think there's a lot of people that are really divided. It seems like America's divided. I don't know if you can agree with the polls, but the polls have been looking very, very close. A lot of them are showing that Kamala Harris is leading Trump. Trump actually said that he's angry with Fox because Fox was showing that Kamala was leading in the polls. What do you think about this, Nash? We've got Kamala Harris versus Trump on November 5th. This could be historical. Kamala Harris could become the first woman president in the history of America. Will Kamala Harris win presidency of America? She's speaking now on a live CNN debate conversation with her VP. What do you think about this? Kamala Harris versus Trump. Does she have a chance?
I think she actually does. I mean, I hope not, but I think she has a chance. Just like Biden, well, a legitimate chance, no. A chance, yes. Uh, if you ask me, there's no way in hell Biden got as many votes as he did the last time. And there'll be no way in hell Kamala gets as many votes as she does this time. But yeah, is she going to get them? It's very possible. I mean, tons of places are going to be letting illegals vote and all kinds of other crap. Uh, it's going to be a shit show, I think. Uh, Hopefully, in the end, Trump pulls through and wins this thing. If not, I do believe America is going to be in some financial ruins worse than what it is already.
Wow. That's a big statement. I hope that's not going to be the case. I really hope that's not going to be the case. So, what do you think about this, Earl? If you were voting and you didn't have any real perception, like previous perception of feelings about Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, who would you vote based on just like what their policies are? Who would you pick
what policies? I haven't heard any yet.
from either
That's
side?
the biggest.
Are you saying you haven't heard
Either
any
side, that's the
policies?
biggest problem. There's no policies. There's nothing about how they're going to do anything. They just say, I'm going to win, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, but they don't tell you how they're going to do it. So, I mean, a cat can talk out of its ass till its tail gets in the way. But, the problem is none of them are talking about exactly how they're going to do the policy. Because, I mean, even Reagan, whenever he came in, he said, when Larry was interviewing him, he's like, well, people on the left side of the aisle are saying they're going to do it this way. The right side's saying how they're going to do this way. Well, how are you going to do it, Mr. President? And he said, well, that's the problem is you're asking government how they can fix it. But the problem is that none of these guys are talking about how exactly they're going to do anything. They're just saying they're going to do something. And
Well,
Kamala, her campaign told her not to speak on policies of what she's going to do. Trump, he just says he's going to make everything big, rich, and win, again, and make America great again, but it doesn't say how he's going to do it besides pumping oil. Kamala's only way she's going to make anything big again is by taxing everything to generate revenue, which, you know, she's going to try doing that without turning on the printers for the secondary hidden inflation, which is already going to be there anyway. So just triple tax. And I mean, you
that
know,
that's what I
we'll
want
get
to
into
talk
that
about.
here in a second.
Let's get into that. Let's get
Yeah.
into that. So, vice president, maybe next president of America, which would be probably the worst thing that could ever happen. Let's put this in perspective, people. Kamala Harris is trying to say she wants to increase corporate tax, which means businesses, from 21% where they are today to 28%. Why would you vote for that? Then her next one is she wants to capital gains tax you at 44.6% when you're currently at 20%. She wants to more than double your capital gains tax. Why would you vote for that? And then she wants to tax your unrealized capital gains tax 25%. And do you know what you pay on your unrealized capital gains right now? 0. So essentially, she's going to force people to sell assets because they have to pay a tax on something that they don't want to sell. This is like absolutely mind-boggling. I've never seen anything like this. This alone, these campaign policies that Kamala Harris wants to put in place would be a reason for me not to want to vote for her. I hope Americans understand what she's trying to propose here. She's trying to destroy America. Like, Nash Cowboy, what do you think about this? This is crazy. Who goes into an election and says they want to increase all of your taxes? What's going on here?
So somehow, some way, the liberal side of things is not even seeing this. Like, I've talked to a couple liberals throughout the last week, and they don't even know about this. Like, I don't understand, but they just think, oh, this is gonna do great. They're gonna cut taxes, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, oh my goodness. You realize what she's openly said, right?
Yeah, you can read it right there. I
Look,
mean, she's proposing to increase taxes on everybody and
exactly.
dramatically from
And
0%
then,
on unrealized gains. That means any crypto you hold that you
yeah,
haven't sold, you need to pay tax on. Any stock you own that you haven't sold, you need to pay tax on. Any real estate you own that you haven't sold, you need to pay tax on. It's going from 0% to 25%. And you're going to vote for that?
yeah, it's absolutely insane. I
It's
don't know
insane.
how she could possibly get any votes. People just think it's the greatest thing in the world, but the fact is, they're trying to tax you to death. And
How is that the greatest thing in the world?
some
Like,
people just want to
she's like
smack people
always
upside the head
smiling.
and
It's
lift
a
them up
big
a little.
party. Everything's a party. And she's like, guess what, guys? You're going to get taxed double. Everyone's like, yeah.
Yeah.
What are, I'm like, what are you celebrating? I'm like, is this really happening? Am I in the Twilight Zone? Is this really happening? Earl, what's going on here, man?
Yeah. Well,
People are
you know,
celebrating getting taxed to death.
she can't really raise taxes on something that's not a tax. It's unconstitutional.
Like, what is that? You're gonna tax us on money that we haven't sold. What do you mean you're gonna tax us?
Well, it's non-taxable because it's not a tax because it's unconstitutional. You can't tax somebody without representation. What's the money going to? Feed illegals, immigrants? How's that representing America?
It's
Right?
crazy. It's
So,
madness.
I mean, when you look at the grand scheme of things, like I was saying, her policies are complete shit, just like what was coming out on the dude's dick that was going in her ass when she got policy or in the power she is. But, the thing is that when the only thing that comes out your mouth is stupidity, you're going to say a bunch of stupid shit. But, you know, it's like all these people on the left side, when they just do the cancel culture, they think if they just say random stupid shit loud enough, it'll drown out the stupidity in their voice and they'll sound intelligent. But it really doesn't work that way. You know,
No.
key representation number one, she wants to raise the taxes on a fucking America because the whole thing is Joe Biden, whenever he was running for president, he got into a debate with Donald Trump, which is key number one of why they don't want her going against Donald Trump. Joe Biden had to say, I will not end fracking. And then number two, he had to say, I will not raise taxes on Americans a single cent on the middle class. And notice that's not having to happen right now. So she's saying, hell yeah, I'll end fracking. Hell yeah, I'll raise taxes on the ultra wealthy and any American that gets in my way. Hell yeah, I'll give out free health care. Hell yeah, I'll go with California, hand out $150,000 down payments on homes to illegal immigrants who aren't even citizens, but we're going to allow them to own land here so they can actually post bail for their Venezuelan buddies over running Aurora, Colorado. So
Yeah,
it's just pure
that is just
stupidity.
what's going on over there is shocking. Buildings being taken over by gangs. How is this happening in America? Like, what is going on? Like
I promise you, the
we're
shit
not
would not
allowed
It's
to
only
even
happen.
going
talk
on
about it.
in the liberal towns because they know they have the fucking head square with their ass if they fucking did it in a Republican town.
We're not even allowed to talk about what's going on in the UK. Can't even talk about it because it's so crazy, right? I've seen all kinds of crazy videos. Like it's crazy. I don't even want to talk about it. But let's talk about
Mhm.
this. The House passes a GOP bill requiring proof of citizenship to vote, boosting election year talking point. This is common sense. I think you should have proof of citizenship to vote in that country. It makes no sense.
Absolutely.
Go to another country and just vote when I'm not a citizen. I don't understand why that's even a thing. In Canada, when I vote, I have to show ID. I'm on a list. If you're not on the list, you can't vote. That's the way it should be. I don't understand how you could do it any other way. So the fact that there's people like the Democrats that want to have illegals voting blows my mind. It just like what is happening in this world? Like it's cheating in plain sight. It's cheating in plain sight. So like do you guys think that this will actually be a thing? Like, do you think they're actually going to allow Americans to vote in an American election? Or do you think they're going to allow these illegal immigrants, legal aliens, anyone who decides to just come into America can vote? Like, I'm Canadian, so now I can vote in America. If I'm there on November 5th, am I allowed to vote? Like, what is going on here, man? Guys, you guys are in America. Tell me here. As a Canadian, I'm concerned. What's happening?
Well, I
Well,
do
you should
believe
be concerned.
I am concerned. We got our own problems here. We're under a dictatorship, communism, you know? So, what's going
well,
on?
definitely everything America does definitely affects the rest of the world. I think it's already settled. As far as I know, there's already some places that are going to openly welcome illegals to vote. All right, which is
Crazy.
insanity to me, but evidently they're going to do it. So I am actually, and that's another thing which brings us back to what you said before. I think there's going to be some states like New York, California, that Kamala will win by a landslide because you have millions of illegals that they literally pump through the border voting for him. I mean, eh,
Shocking.
absolutely.
Well, I mean, you should be concerned. I mean, New York's already passed it where they'll give out driver's license to illegal immigrants, right? That's number one proof of at least statehood. You've had several states actually have to vote on whether to give the right to illegal immigrants to vote in central elections, local elections. I mean, it's just pure stupidity and a complete abolishment of the republic upon which America was built upon. Right? I mean, fuck democracy. It's not free and for everyone. It's a republic for a reason. And it's not because the government runs us, it's because we, the people, run the government. And, that's, we can only change it by getting out there and voting. Call your representatives, have them definitely pass on this thing. But, also dig into it. What is the proof of citizenship that is required for you to vote? Can they just identify as a fucking American citizen for the day underneath democratic rule? You know, Show up as a furry and say I'm owned by an American? I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's shocking. Like some of the stuff going on, it's just I just can't believe what's happening. Look at this. FBI may bring criminal charges in Trump assassination attempt investigation. Check this out. The FBI has placed 5 agents on leave over the attempt, and grand jury has been impelled to consider criminal charges as well. What do you guys think about this? Is somebody like, was this an inside job? And does this mean that agents could potentially go to jail? What do you think about this, Nash Cowboy?
I definitely think it was an inside job, 100%. And I've been saying that from the start. But do I think anybody will go to jail over it? No. Honestly, I don't. I think it's all going to be swept under the rug, just like everything else the liberals do. Um, that's just the way things seem to happen these days. So it doesn't matter. They can't. Anything that goes on in government under the scenes never gets to see the light of day. So I think it's all smoke and mirrors just to appease some people and shut them up. And then I don't think anything will ever happen of it. That's just my own opinion.
This is the quietest presidential assassination attempt of all time. It's as if no one even talks about it anymore. It's as
Yeah.
if it never even happened. So this is the bizarre situation. Someone's obviously going to be the fall guy for this, or five guys might be fall guys for this. No one's ever going to really know the real situation, I don't think. And obviously, the shooter's been killed, so he'll never be able to speak about what happened to him. So,
Supposedly.
right? What do you think about this, Earl?
Well, I like the idea of Five Guys burgers and fries, but I'd like to know whether it's all just guys that are the agents being held for criminal contempt or dereliction of duty or failure to command your post or you know leaving your post or failure for insight or whether it's just failure improper chain of command, improper working. I mean, there's several things that the laws could fall under and above. But the problem is, what the hell happened to Cheeto Lady? Is she going to be held responsible for anything? Because the slope roof. Jesus, all she's got to do is put one on her front porch, and they won't ever come get her. But it's just freaking crazy and lunacy.
Yeah,
I
well,
need to know more of the specifics about what they're being held for, or at least investigated for, as far as connections or potential whatever. I mean, they've already come up. They said the body was moved within 3 days rather than 10 days. There was FBI was already there, removing DNA matter before the case was even closed. The body was already being cremated by the time they were already opening another investigation into it, further investigation into it. You had 10 shots that were accounted for directly what from the angle and trajectory of the one shooter that was there. Um, Past that, the rest of the details are kind of murky. Why is everything being steamboated and under trail? I can understand coming from a military perspective and a federal level, but when it's something as open as this, it just screams John F. Kennedy files all over that it's going to be just held top
Absolutely.
secret and nobody's going to be able to read it anymore. I mean, there was a little press conference thing that came out earlier this week about JFK and how they were approached, and along with the now Kennedy, and how his siblings are down looking upon him. So just read in between the lines is what we're going to have to do just to see the future of the light. But it just opens the doors for so many conspiracies that it doesn't hush anything up, in my personal opinion.
Well, yeah. I mean, why are we talking less about the Trump assassination than we did about the Kennedy assassination, which was what, 30, 40 years ago? So,
Hmm.
like, nobody's talking about it. It like doesn't get any media attention, never talked about, never discussed. It only happened like what, a month ago, and it's already old news, not talked about. Uh, Essentially everyone acts like he didn't even get shot. So
Hmm.
I don't know, it's just crazy when I think about what's going on. And this is pretty crazy because I remember a time when Trump was very against crypto. He was very much one of the guys that believed that crypto was a scam. And he didn't believe it, he didn't understand it, he didn't agree with it. But he's changed. He's changed his stance. And it's one of the reasons why I believe that Trump would be a great president for America moving forward, because he just said that the US will be the crypto capital of the planet under Donald Trump. What do you guys think about this? Do you agree with Donald Trump? Would America become the crypto capital of the world under Donald Trump? And would that be good for crypto? What do you think, Nash Cowboy?
Do I think that it would become the crypto capital because of him? I don't know. But do I think it's going to be? Yeah, I do. Do I think that? his policies on or his stances on crypto might give it a little jump start. Very possible. As far as him not liking crypto and then liking crypto, hell, I used to be the same way. I used to preach that it was a scam. I used to tell people to get out of it. And then I'm just like, it's gonna crash, it's gonna crash. And then they crashed, and I'm like, oh, see, it's a scam. And then I was like, wait, this guy's over here making some money at this. This guy's over here making some. Wait a second, hold up, what's going on here? So I had to do a lot of research myself and try and figure things out. And I figured out the whole cycle of crypto. And I just feel like Trump's probably in those still very beginner stages of understanding all that. There's one thing about Trump, he understands money. All
Yeah,
right.
of course.
I understand money. So when I see something and I think it's a scam, and then I research it and I'm like, wait a minute, okay, this is becoming repetitive. All right. There's a lot of money being pumped in, it comes out. There's a lot of money being pumped in, it comes out. It does the same thing in the stock market overall. And I think he finally started to see that. So now he's opening his eyes to it. I'm sure his sons know a lot more about it than he does, just because of the age. I don't think he's went too deep in diving into the research on the whole crypto cycle, but it's definitely something he's using to promote his presidency. And I think it'll help him a little bit, not as much as he would hope though.
What do you think, girl?
um, I think when you look at the things that made Trump do last time he was in power, right, or in office, and we won't say power, in office, right? He's not a dictator. But last time he was in office, they made him completely cut all of his ties from his businesses, right?
Yep.
Everybody remembers that. And now he's
Yep.
going to start up a crypto project right before he gets into power and says that he's going to skyrocket crypto, where he's hoping people will be utilizing his exchange where he'll just make millions and millions off of it while he makes it great. I mean, how much more shadowing do you need that he's going to have to cut ties from even having it associated with a project that he has started, such as a speech group? You know, number one on that part, but number two, as far as him igniting things, as far as the markets, that's gonna come, and it's gonna come on its own whether he's a part of it or not. He
So
could say that he's not going to, and not talk about it. As long as he's neutral, it's gonna pump. As long as it's not Kamala Harris, where you're driving in unrealized taxation and unfair taxes and unconstitutional taxes, will be doing okay. As long as Gary Gensler is in the Department of Treasury, and you have a bunch of anti-crypto guys there, trying to drive more laws and restrictions and regulations just to hurt the community rather than get us going. But we said it, or I said it a couple of shows back. When we was talking about the penny stocks, there's a big boom coming, and it's not just going to be the SEC 500, and it's not going to be just or the S&P 500. It's not just going to be the Nasdaq. On the smaller 7 stocks or 15 giants that's going to be pumping. But if it's a great time to cash out and then ride the wave down and buy back in to double or triple off of 30% gains, not financial advice. But it was the opportune time to get in at the lowest point. I agree on that. But, we're still at an opportune time to get in. There's still plenty of room for movement, to potentially double, on the big blue chips. And, that's going to happen regardless of who the president is, in my opinion, because of one of the next topics we're going to talk about.
All right, well, let's get into the next topic. So the next topic we're going to talk about, and we'll just look at it right now, is the price of Bitcoin. So let's take a look at the price of Bitcoin. So I want to show a pattern, and I've got it marked off here. You guys can see it on the screen. There's a little bit of a pattern that's been happening on Bitcoin now for quite some time. I've got it marked off here. You can kind of see it in a box. We've been stuck in this zone between 49,000 and 73,000 since February. Now, you can say it's a large zone, but realistically, that's what I would call a reaccumulation zone. And we've been in that zone now for 6 months. And I believe we're still going to continue to be in this zone until October. It's something I've been saying all year. It's literally falling exactly like I said it would. But I want you to look at the beginning of the graph and see that at this time last year, literally, when you look at almost to the day, we can go back all the way to the day, August 29th. The price of Bitcoin was $25,000. Today, the price of Bitcoin on August 29th, 2024 is $59,000. So the price of Bitcoin in 1 year is up 118%. That's pretty good in a year. If Bitcoin has another 100% gain and we can see Bitcoin go to $118,000 by next year, where could this go? Right? And that's what is so exciting about this, because we are already up. You can see it clearly on the chart. We've gone from 25,000 to 59,000 in 1 year. So if you had to predict what would be the price of Bitcoin in a year, Nash Cowboy, if you had to predict the price on August 29th, 2025, what do you think the price would be?
Whew, that's a tough one. There's a lot of factors that go into play on that. We've got a lot of institutional money that's coming to the market that we didn't normally have. So historically, if I'm just going off of history, I'm gonna see Bitcoin somewhere around $120,000. But we have a lot of extra institutional money into the market. So, I mean, I think there's potential for Bitcoin to hit as high as 350K. Do I think it's going to go there? I really don't. But
Michael
there
Saylor is
is,
saying that it's going to 350,000 this year. I'm like, what?
it's
No way. There's no way
there.
that's happening.
There's factors that come into play that we have no idea. All right, we don't have a crystal ball, but there are some things you can look at that can show you how it's going to make it there, and I can see it. But do I believe it? I don't know. And you got to not only that, but
This
enough
is the Bitcoin
people.
all-time chart. This is the Bitcoin all-time chart. You can see here this move we had. It's been a nice move. It's gone up
Yeah,
from 25,000 to 59,000, and it hit a high of 73,000. But this big move that happened last time hasn't even happened yet. You
yeah,
can see that this move started in October of 2020. We are
yeah.
still in August of 2024. So this huge move here, I want to mark this up for you. This huge move here hasn't even happened yet. Hasn't even happened yet.
I
This
know.
is what I'm excited about. This is what I'm trying to talk to you guys about, that I'm excited about. This right here. This. This is the move that is supposed to happen between this October in a couple months and April of next year. That
Yeah,
massive move where the price of Bitcoin ran from 10,000 to 65,000, then consolidated in the summer, exactly like we're seeing right now, and then made another massive move in the fall of 2021, all the way to the all-time high of Bitcoin of 69,000. So now what have we done? We made this big move here in anticipation of all this. We've already had this.
Well, that
This
dump was
is
COVID too in
yeah.
the
So
spring.
this move we've had is in anticipation of this move.
yeah.
Like,
It's that first huge jump there.
yeah,
Is not it is not even equivalent to what we're seeing yet.
that's what I'm trying to
Um,
say. So realistically, based on history, the price of Bitcoin went up in 6 months 600%. It went from 10,000 to 65,000. That's a 550% move in 5 months. So based on that, if Bitcoin was at 60,000 or 59,000, like where we're at, that would say that Bitcoin could run to 300,000 by April of 2025, based on history. And then that's just what I'm seeing in the chart. Now that obviously it may not happen like it did last time, but that's what history is saying could happen again. And if it does, we all going to be really, really happy. Because I don't think it'll just be Bitcoin. I think everything will explode with it. What
Well,
do you think
I
about that, Will?
mean, what I say is, if it goes off the historical patterns, you're gonna love this part. Get ready to buckle up, Powder Cup, because we're gonna be looking at a new low of or a new high of 59,000. And then we're gonna be floating in between the 54 to $59,000 range for another accumulation series before we even get to the pump.
Yep.
Right? So
Yep.
now is your time to be buying before the lead. And I mean that's one of the problems that we've been telling people, is get ready to buy, get ready to buy. The dip's coming. Well, now's the dip. We everybody kept asking, is it time to buy? Is it time to buy? Is it time to buy? Well, like, yeah, anytime is a good time to buy, but now is really the good time to buy. But that's always the problem. Is the economy is in such a hurt that they say buy with what? Buy
Yeah.
the dip with
Nobody's
what?
got any money left to
Yeah,
buy anything.
exactly. But I view that we're going to come up on a big ringer. But by the end of the year, uh, 108,000, would be foreseeable if Trump's in office. I'd say 96,000 if Kamala gets in. Um, you know, that's just not financial advice, just numbers out my ass. Everyone.
Well, I mean, we're
Um,
all just guessing, right? At
yeah,
the end of the
but
day, none of us have a crystal ball.
my crystal ball is a little blurry.
I
Um,
get it in here, but
Kamala must have sat on it. But you know, the thing is that that's just where I see. But the top of the markets, you know, anybody saying $350,000, I got some oceanfront property for you, okay, buddy? But you know, we're looking at $256,000 at the top of the market based off historical trends. You can read into it or read up onto it. At the top of the market, you're looking at, 427,000 at the top of the fucking red cycle of the rainbow charts. So they can pull the numbers all they want, but the problem is we aren't even getting any close to them numbers until 2030, right? So you got a whole nother cycle coming. Um, it's going to be crazy. Everybody says every bull cycle that it's going to be crazy. Just be realistic with your predictions and your price associations, is my opinion, because, you can only be so greedy, and everybody's only going to be so greedy before they keep up with the trends to keep it in line in the markets. But as you head up that chart, you can clearly see on the year to date was that since the ETFs have got into play, yeah, on the year to date one.
that's the
As
one
you can
year right
see,
here.
yep. As you can see, since the ETFs got into play, those lines have become a hell of a lot more sharp as the stock boys start to play their little market manipulation games,
Oh yeah,
right?
back
So
and
your
forth,
downward
up and
lines are
down.
becoming a hell of a lot more sharp. But they think they have money. Wait until they see what the actual crypto industry and giant can do, and make them laugh about it. Because we're just going to wait till they sell one good time, and then we're just going to blast past them and leave them laying in the freaking dust. But uh, as far as Trump creating a reserve 1 million Bitcoin, let's look at the facts. BlackRock's going to own over 1 million Bitcoin by Halloween. My personal prediction.
Crazy.
The markets
That's
still
crazy.
aren't going to be over $59,000. So just the U.S. buying 1 million in reserve isn't going to do crap for the markets, really. Let's be truthful about it. It's all going to be the power of the people, where the money
No,
lies
I
and the
don't think
power
it'll.
lies.
I don't think that that would be a huge thing for the market. Well, I think it would be big for the market personally, but because that is still like 5% of the whole float. But it would put America in a powerful position because the problem is that I see is that America right now is selling their Bitcoin. Why would they be doing that right before the explosion? Because they
But have
clearly
they sold
don't
it?
get it. Because they clearly don't get it, right?
Have they sold it though?
Well, I believe so. That's the reason why they put them in exchanges was to
Well, they
sell them.
just moved it to the exchange. They haven't sold it yet. They're still holding custody of the tokens.
I hope so. I
They
hope so.
have.
I hope they don't sell them because if they hold them, they'll have more value when the price goes up.
Uh huh.
So the idea of Trump holding 1 million Bitcoin, I think, is as an asset to help reduce America's debt issue. And I think it's a great strategy because the price of Bitcoin over time goes up.
Yeah, Putin even
So
thinks
I
that.
like the
Yeah.
idea of Bitcoin, of owning 1 million Bitcoin. I like Canada owning 1 million Bitcoin. There's only so many Bitcoin for every country to own. So not every country could even own 1 million Bitcoin. So I think if America does own 1 million Bitcoin, I think that that would put them as the leader of crypto in the world. So I think it is a strong move if he's capable of doing it and pulling it off. All right, so let's talk about this. Russia is turning to crypto as sanctions snarl payments, report says. So, Nash Cowboy, what do you think about this? Russia using crypto as a way to avoid sanctions because crypto isn't monitored and protected or utilized fully by governments. It's just starting to be introduced by governments. It's not controlled by governments. So, what do you think about Russia using crypto as a way to circumvent governments and sanctions from America and other countries all over the world that, like the EU, that are having issues with Russia?
I personally think the sanctions are a shit show anyway. I, do I think Putin's a great guy? No. Do I think he's in the wrong on this whole war thing? I don't know where to go on that one. But uh, it, yeah, I believe he's been using crypto for a lot longer than just now. So
Some
it's a
believe
matter.
he's the guy behind Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's stupid.
There's rumors that he
Um,
is, and Russia is the creator and inventor of Bitcoin.
yeah, there's rumor that I'm an alien too.
Can I
But
go for a ride in your UFO?
so I don't know. Is he trying to get around certain things? He's been trying to get around things forever. So is our president. So is everybody else's president. Uh, it's no news to me. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know what to think of the situation because he's going to do what he's going to do. There's nothing we can impose on him that's going to stop anything short of nuclear power, and that nobody wants. So I don't know. Is he using crypto to get around some shit? Who cares? That's where I'm at.
Earl, what do you think about this?
Well, I'm going to kind of reiterate up to a point of what Nash said. I still want to go for a ride on his UFO. But, the thing is whether you agree with the war or not, you doesn't determine what kind of person you are. It determines how you see the world on a global scale of global power, right? You can look at it from a right perspective or a wrong perspective, but is Putin right in the way he is doing things? 100,000,000,000% yes. Because he should have taken over Ukraine. He should have taken over Crimea. He should be continuing to bolster up Belarus because the thing is, he's not a freaking idiot, right? He sees that the US and the UK, the UN, or whatever, NATO, is taking all the land around him, all the
Surrounding him.
assets around him,
Surrounding him.
surrounding him. And it's not even just to keep him at bay. It is for nothing but maximizing the global strength economy and the global powerhouse of the US and the NATO powers, trying to open up $14 trillion worth of assets in freaking Ukraine, right? $14 trillion. Thank you, Lindsey Graham, for coming clean on that. That's the whole reason we're there and funneling money into it. It's because Ukraine owns $14 trillion worth of assets. Why do you think BlackRock is floating
Land.
so much freaking money into it, right?
Ukraine owns land, wheat.
Yep.
There's resources
Lots
there.
of minerals.
That's why
Eurasia,
Canada, United States,
$35 trillion in Eurasia, which
Right.
is under the power of freaking Russia. You think we want that? Yes, we have to surround it to take it, right? There's other countries that we're doing the same thing with. The US is being a bully, sticking our nose in, trying to poke the bear and take as much as we can, lend as much money as we can, and try to sanction the hell out of Russia and China for doing the same thing, whether we're playing with the strength of the US dollar because everybody's on it. But there's so many things that we do on a global scale that we sanction other countries for that we're facing no repercussions. So, we better hope that Putin keeps it over there and doesn't tiptoe over to here. Because the thing is, sanctions are working on him. He can't even afford parts for his piece of shit fucking uh, planes that are in the sky for his fifth gen rumored Su-32 pieces of shit that never existed, right? His tanks aren't even standing up. He's having to go to old reserves on tanks. He's having to use glider bombers because his freaking Air Force can't even stand up to par. The only thing that he can spend all of his money on in a cheap, effective way is drones. And now we got Australia funneling in new anti drone systems. Putin just put an anti drone system at one of his mansions that the US and the world's not supposed to know about. He knows what's going on, and he knows that it's cheap and an effective way because it's been attacking the hell out of it. He's going about it the right way. Sanctions are working against him. He needs to get his economy back off the ground. He's keeping commodities afloat the same way the US is with the inflation rates because the US said, okay, we know there's an inflation. We're going to make it a soft landing. We're going to endorse all of our money directly into commodities and the everyday essentials that U.S. citizens need to keep that at a cheaper rate. Has that worked? Hell no. But did it skyrocket up to the price like lumber did? Not quite so much. So they did do a little something, but the US strength of the US dollar is always there, even though, according to some sanctions, we should be kicked off of our own use of our own US dollar. But um, okay, you're going directly to that article next. So I'll
Yeah.
go ahead and cover directly in that him utilizing cryptocurrency is directly on par with the BRICS system because he has to move away from the US dollar. And he's going to be doing that, as you can see, with his mining operations that he's trying to implement. Number one. Number two, he is directly trying to funnel in cross border transactions of only BRICS dollars being used as currency within the government so he can strengthen ties of BRICS currencies in and out of Russia, use it for cross border transactions, use crypto as cross border transactions so it has no affiliation with any US dollar so they can legally use it without having to face any sanctions of the US dollar because they're not going to be using it. So, if the US wants to keep playing that game, there's 5 super powerful countries out there that's going to have their own currency that we're going to have no implementation over because the US dollar ain't going to mean shit because they'll just do their own trade. I mean, when you look at Africa owning 30% of all global assets and world trade in the freaking world, and we're playing hopscotch with Russia and Iran. I mean, if you're trying to implement, there's a Somalian war going on over there with warlords. And the only reason we can't do anything is because freaking Russia's there. When Obama was in power, we tried to take over Syria and actually power up the rebels there. You know why it was unsuccessful? Because Russia was there. So they're not something to be taken so lightly, but sanctions are definitely affecting their military grade equipment, and they've already cut down on exportation of their weapons by over 50%, and 30% of it was going to India, and they've already cut down on their orders because it's old and outdated, and most of their missiles only hit about 27% of its actual targets.
Well, it's a crazy situation. What's going on in that war feels like it's never going to end. And I think it's good for crypto that Russia is using crypto. I think it's good for countries all over the world to use crypto. It's good for the ecosystem. I think it's important for countries to adopt Bitcoin, adopt Ethereum, adopt technology, adopt blockchain technology, and start utilizing these breakthroughs in technologies to be able to move trillions of dollars, billions of dollars, millions of dollars all over the world. This is the future of money. It's going to be digital. And that's why I think it's important for all of us to really understand it, for governments to understand it, and for the average person to understand it. And I think in the future, the people that understand this, that understand digital money, that understand how to utilize it, are going to be the people that are going to be leading the future, leading into the future of technology. And the people that don't understand are going to be left behind. I really believe that. So because old money is old, and it's almost like it's history, because everything is going to be like on your phone. You're going to be able to tap with your phone everywhere you go. Everything's going to be connected to your phone. Everything's just going to be tap, tap, tap. That's just the way it's going to be in the future, I believe. So let's talk about this. This is kind of disturbing. So the CEO of Telegram arrested at a French airport. This is a man who is a billionaire. This is a man who has been extremely successful. And now he's been arrested in France and apparently posted a $5 million bail.
5 million pound.
£5 million bail. CZ, the founder of Binance, was also jailed. And obviously, the founder of FTX, Sam Bankman Fried, has been jailed. So we're starting to see a trend here where a lot of people in crypto, but the thing about this guy is not only is he in crypto because he has his own coin, the Ton coin, he's also in social media because he's the founder of Telegram, which is a messaging app. So this is kind of shocking the crypto world. Nash Cowboy, what do you think about this?
I think it's a pull of power. As we know, the UK and a lot of other countries around the world are trying to censor a lot of things, and I won't get too deeply into that. But I think it's a pull of power to shut them up, and he's trying to give people an outlet where they can communicate without the governments being in every little detail of what they do. And they're trying to push for that, to give access to that. And uh, I think that's all it is them trying to force their hand on something that they shouldn't be forcing their hand in. Of course, not as many countries around the world have the same freedoms that we do here in America. Um, but like they can't do certain things. But along the way, they're trying to censor a lot of things. One being Telegram. So I don't know. I think this guy's 100% innocent, and they need to just let him go and leave him alone. But they won't do that because he won't give them access that they want.
Seemed kind of a weird move because I heard that he had a warrant for his arrest in France. He knew he had a warrant and he flew to France anyways. Why would you do that? Weird. Earl, what do you think about this?
Well, he's being blamed for potential Russian oligarchs being invested into his business from previous excursions, right? Previous times, and potentially Russia having access to utilize his communications for nefarious acts in an encrypted environment where nobody can see it. And they're pushing for backdoor access because they tried hiring one of his engineers to upload open source communication information to where any government, but specifically the US, will have access to every single message and full viewing power and censorship power over the platform. He didn't let that happen. So the US got pissed. If you don't think the embassy knew about it, that's one thing. But where is the congressional oversight on this? Where? Um, the problem is the U.S. doesn't really want anybody else to have a backdoor access to it because they already know that the reason why it has over 1 billion people, right? We're talking about a social media platform that was started by one person. His brother wrote the encryption coding. He did the HR. He's the only person that runs that company. The only person. He's president and all that. They hire engineers online. They run about 30 people to run a 1 billion person company
It's crazy.
platform.
That is really crazy.
So, yeah, I mean, they're super successful. But one of the reasons that they're super successful is because the CIA was utilizing Telegram in Russia and in Ukraine and in Belarus for nefarious acts and to be provoking and inciting riots and protests during the early 2000s and the 2010s, right? So one of the reasons is he's so popular is because the U.S. helped him. And do you think they want full access to, let's say, Russia to be able to prove that? No. But, they're going to try to cup his hands because he doesn't want to play ball. And they just want to make sure, well, they want several things, but they want to be able to censor us as U.S. citizens. They want to be able to censor the world, but they're trying to crack an encryption coding, but they're just going to push all the people over to a better platform of Signal, right? So if the CIA's already got their hands into Telegram by creating groups, you already know they're there. Whether,
Then you know that they're on Signal too.
they're there. Yeah, and they're already there on Signal too. So
You
everything
know,
that you do is
yeah,
still going to be monitored. They just can't
exactly.
do shit about it if you're doing personal messages person to person because it's not within a group format where they have access to the encoding or just access to the room. So, they having access to the system or the encryptions doesn't help them because I can go ahead. Yeah, I mean, I can go ahead and let you know that terrorists with Osama bin Laden were using Google, Hotmail, and uh, Yahoo email to communicate back and forth. And they knew that the US and NATO would intercept the messages. So, what they would do is they would go directly in and create a draft message in an email box and leave it there. And then it would be saved into there. And then everybody who they were wanting to talk to, they just gave access directly to that email address. And those people would log in and be able to read the saved draft that was there without having to send it or transmit it. And it didn't help the US having full access to that. So, there's several different ways that they're going to do things, whether it's through encrypted, but, freedom of speech is being regulated and censored all across the entire world. And it's not a God given right across the entire world, but thankfully it is here in the US. And it has been trampled upon one too many times. And I view that we need to hold more people accountable, especially when Mark Zuckerberg comes out and attests to it. Where's all the lawsuits on Zach Dorsky, who completely said no, that wasn't happening until the Twitter files comes out? When's he's being held accountable? Where's his lawsuit? When's the U.S. government and the FBI going to be held accountable for their breaking of censorship and freedom of speech, and then spying on U.S. citizens as well? Not only in this case, but in other cases, to include the Russian dossier.
Now
Right?
let me just stop you there real quickly because we've only got a few minutes left. We got 5 minutes left. I got a couple topics I want to run through here. So, first of all, China will unban Bitcoin and crypto by the end of this year. Yes or no, Nash Cowboy?
Um, I think they very well could, but are they going to seize it from people again? That's the problem. So how many people are going to put their faith into it when they know that the government might take it?
Well, I think it would be massive if they unban it. What do you think, Earl? Do they unban crypto and Bitcoin by the end of this year? Some are saying it could be any day.
1000% they will. How else are they going to work with BRICS and use it as a global currency for cross-border transactions if they don't unban crypto?
And do you think that'll be a boom for Bitcoin and crypto?
I view that they're going to start funneling all their money into a stable coin that will be set up by the gold back and oil backed countries such as China. They've been doing nothing but importing and mining gold to create a currency. Iran and the UAE's been working, and Saudi Arabia has been working on it for oil. So they're going to create a conglomerate backed up currency that is going to completely be separate of the US dollar, backed by several things to include a digital asset wallet and a stable coin to represent it. So I do view that they will be fully accepting it, especially once they get an actual currency set off the ground that will be implemented in Brazil through a Brazilian bank for BRICS, where their national bank is actually set up and has been for over 10 years.
That leads me to my next question. BRICS in discussions to potentially integrate Bitcoin. This is huge for Bitcoin adoption. This is what I've been talking about. Governments starting to integrate Bitcoin to move trillions and billions of dollars. And that's what BRICS is looking to do. BRICS is Brazil, Russia, Iran, China, and Saudi Arabia. Nash Cowboy, do you think that they do this? And will this be bullish for Bitcoin?
I do think that they do it, and again, I think it will give it a boom, but it's just a matter of how fast. It's not new that they're talking about this. This has been brought up a few different times, and but it is popping off right now, and I think it's going to escalate very quickly here in the near future, but not yet. Not yet.
Earl, what do you think?
I think that the U.S. is scared, and that's why they want backdoor access, unfettered access to Telegram, because they know where that's all where the crypto talks come through with Russia, because Russia's not going to be using WeChat to talk to China. Number one, they're not going to be using it to talk to Brazil. They're going to be using Telegram and secure communications. And when they implement a currency, the U.S. is going to want to know how to counteract against it.
Okay. And then that leads
So I see it as yes.
Okay, perfect. This leads me to this, my final topic. So I'm an investor in NVIDIA, and NVIDIA is the biggest, strongest AI and chip maker in the world. Their revenues have been growing. Full disclosure, I own 200 shares. They just reported record revenue up 122%. They did $30 billion in revenue after doing $28.6 billion last quarter. They did a record $30 billion in revenue. They had a gross profit go up 138%, $22 billion in gross profit, gross margin up 5% to 75% in gross margin, operating income up 174% to $18 billion, operating margin up 11% to 62%, net income up 168% to $16 billion, operating cash flow up 128% to $14 billion, earning per shares diluted 170% up to 0.67. Revenue beat by 1.3 billion, earning per share beat by 0.03 cents. All metrics are up year over year, and the stock goes down. What's going on? Nash Cowboy, why does stock go down when they beat on every single metric? What's going on? Any ideas?
All I can say is,
I'll show you the stock. Look at this. This is what the
a
stock did.
stock like them is going down. Now is a good time to buy.
Yeah, like it doesn't make any sense. Like they just reported record revenue. The whole world was watching. Everybody was watching. Everybody was looking. There was literally parties. There was literally launch parties, literally all over the world, waiting to see these numbers. They come out with these record numbers, and the stock tanks.
I
Goes
think
down
stock
7%,
manipulation.
down 6% today. Down 6% after reporting record bigger than they announced they were going to do 28 billion in revenue. They did 30 billion. They did more than they even guided for, and they still went down. What do you think, Earl?
I think investors were happy enough to take their money. And that's what it simply comes down to. People were in it to make money. They weren't into it to make them $1 billion freaking dollars. But, that's a great part that they did because they made more money. So, they're going to take their money and they're going to dump the market and they're going to buy back in. And, anybody who's shorting the stock, good luck to you because,
Yeah,
they've already
probably
shored
right.
that up.
The crazy part
So
is
good luck on that. But, at this point, you know, that's a good time to buy in, but I view we still got a little bit more blood in the streets for at least the rest of this month before anything dramatic actually happens. But, you know, we're getting into the fall time. It's time for some numbers to start popping, in my opinion. But, use
I
your
got a
time if you
crazy.
have it and your money.
I got I got something crazy to show you. Look at this. After their earnings, every one of these major banks has increased their price targets. Every single one of them. Morgan Stanley from 144 to 150. Bernstein from 130 to 155. Wells Fargo from 155 to 165. Goldman Sachs from 135 sets a new target at 135. Mizuno from 132 to 140. BofA Securities from 150 to 165. Raymond James and JP Morgan increased their targets to 140 and 155, up from 120 and 115. And Needham and Baird elevate their expectations to 145. So it's like every one of these banks is raising their expectations after their earnings, and the stock still goes down.
Mm-hmm.
Something's up, right?
They just know that they're going to loan money. But I mean, both of those companies, the banks are expecting something, but it's not exactly from Nvidia. Their expectations are coming from their Bitcoin investments that they already have with the SEC or with the Nasdaq trying to get ETFs approved directly through the Nasdaq, right? So they already know where their money's going to go, and they already know the pump's coming. So it's guaranteed that they're going to expect that kind of profit. Maybe with Nvidia just holding strong where it currently is, maybe a slight pump in Meta and a slight pump in Apple and Samsung has new devices coming out. Sony talking about potentially opening up an actual Bitcoin exchange, and everybody's trying to get their toes wet. So they're expecting just Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin as it goes up, and I don't think they're just basing it all off of Nvidia, in my opinion.
Okay. Now let's talk about this. I appreciate you guys being here. We're here for over an hour. Thank you guys for being here. God bless America. God bless Canada. God bless the whole world. Let's stay safe out there. There's a lot of crazy things going on in this world. And I really want to appreciate you guys for joining us. For all of you guys that are watching, everyone on all the different devices, everywhere, all over the world. And I want to thank my co-hosts, Nash Cowboy, King Earl, for joining me once again. And we'll see you guys next week. Anything you guys want to say before we say goodbye?
As always, buckle up, Buttercup. Bull market's about to hit. Let's grab the bull by the horns, make some money, and God bless.
Earl, any last words?
Right? Don't forget that God gave you a voice where you can use it and a voting finger. So, just keep that in mind and anywhere that you are and try to utilize most of your capacity. And if you can't, change the world of where you're at, maybe change your world.
I just want to
God
leave
bless you
by,
past that.
yeah, and I just want to leave by saying Bitcoin is up over 100% in the last year. It is the single greatest investment of our lifetimes. It is up around 1,000,000,000%. And I don't know anything else that is up 1,000,000,000% in my lifetime. I don't believe there will ever be another thing up 1,000,000,000% like Bitcoin that can continue to go higher. And Bitcoin is him. Bitcoin is it. Bitcoin is her. It is the only thing that can do that. And that's why I believe it will change our lives if we allow it to. So don't be afraid to learn about crypto. Don't be afraid to educate yourself about Bitcoin. And even potentially the next president of America, Donald Trump, loves and believes in Bitcoin. And apparently the flip-flopper, Kamala Harris, some days she thinks she wants to get into Bitcoin and crypto too. So maybe she might be good with crypto too. Who knows? She flip-flops, right? So thank you guys for watching. I'm your boy, Rich from Rich TV. Remember, everything we talk about is strictly for information and education purposes. Please do your due diligence and do your research before you invest in anything we talk about or discuss on the Rich TV Live podcast. And past performance is not always an indication of future results. And our opinions are simply our own. That's all they are. We're not telling you who to vote for. I'm not even in America. I'm in Canada. I don't even vote in America. But my friends here, they will be voting. And I'm very confident that they will be making the right decision. I hope you do too. Thank you for watching. Your boy, Rich from Rich TV. Have a great day, everybody. I'm out. Peace.
Cheers.
Cheers.
You guys.